I will start with a brief overview of the procedural background of this evaluation. On 18 May 2023, the Commission sent you a request for submission of the 5-year declaration of assets and personal interests. On the 25th of May, you submitted your 5-year declaration. The Commission also asked candidates to voluntarily complete and submit an ethics questionnaire, and you did so on 1 June 2023. The Commission sent you 4 rounds of questions on 9 June, 22 June, 30 June and 6 July respectively. You were asked a total number of 19 questions, including 70 subparts, and 48 of the questions included the request for further documentation. According to Article 3, Paragraph 4 of the Evaluation Rules of the Commission, a candidate may not provide information, documents or other materials during the hearing if the Commission requested these earlier and the candidate did not provide them within the time specified, unless the candidate provides sufficient justification. Members of the Commission will now start with asking you questions, and Nadezhda Rybczewski will start with asking questions first. We will try to keep our questions short and to the point, and we ask that your answers be short and to the point as well. Nadezhda, you have the floor.
Thank you, Chair. Bună ziua, domnule Muntean.
Greetings, Mr. Muntean. We'll be speaking Romanian now. First, I will read out the facts. You received them before the hearing, and that will be followed by the questions. According to information from the State Tax Service and according to your 5-year declaration, the one that you filed to the Commission, including the annexes to the annexes which included the declarations for 2008-2022. So over the period 2008-2022, which is the period that was analyzed by the Commission, you and your wife had a total income of 9,510,627 lei, which included the net salary, the proceeds from the sale of property, the interest from bank deposit and donations as well. This amount includes, to be more precise, 5.5 million lei, which is about 58% of the total income. That is donations from your parents and parents-in-law, and almost 4 million Moldovan lei, which is salary and proceeds from the sale of assets and bank interest on the basis of bank deposits. You can see right there in the table these figures and have a better look at that. Now, with regards to the donations from your parents, in the written communication with the Commission, you stated that those donations from your parents were always made in cash, usually on the occasion of different events, such as birthdays, Christmas, Easter, and so on and so forth. And you've also stated that the source of those donations was the salary and pension of your father. According to the information from the State Tax Service, between 2008 and 2022, your parents had a total income of 1,649,089 lei, from which you were donated 276,000 lei, that is about 16.7%. The Commission has also looked into the average consumption costs of your parents, which were a bit more than 1 million lei, and it looked at the procurement of 2 assets that, according to the information available to the Commission, your parents had enough resources to purchase those 2 assets and also make those donations to you. Again, you can see right there a table with all these donations. They ranged between 10,000 and 40,000 a year at most. The donations from your parents-in-law now between 2008 and 2022, they amounted to 5,266,000 lei. This is a significant amount compared to the income that you and your wife had of 3,968,000 lei. You stated that the donations for the past 5 years, that you said that you declared all donations that you received over the last 5 years, that you declared them in the annual declarations for 2018-2022, the ones that you submitted to the Commission, that is, and also in all the four round of questions you did provide details regarding those donations, and you've been also showing the donations you've been receiving since 2006 onwards all the way to 2018. You stated that all those donations were made in cash, except for a donation of 4 million lei, which was transferred to your wife. That is, according to the answers that you provided to the Commission. And also, you stated that most of those donations were made as gifts on the occasion of different family events, except for the donations in 2008, 2011, 2014, and 2020 that were made, in fact, for the procurement of cars and real estate. We will further analyze this next. Again, you can see all the figures in the table right in front of you. Over 2008-2022, you and your wife acquired 4 major assets, major from the perspective of the price, the cost associated with them. And they were purchased either partially or fully thanks to the donations from your parents-in-law. First of all, I mean the Volvo XC40 car, manufactured in 2022, an asset that you declared that you bought in 2022 for 857,000, that is about 42,000 euros. That included the cost of the car and the import taxes. And also you've mentioned that the car was partially paid for from a donation you received in 2020 from your parents-in-law, a donation of 4 million lei. Another asset is the Ford Focus, manufactured in 2014, purchased by your wife in 2014, worth 222,000 lei, which is almost 12,000 euros, for which again you spent 200,000 lei that was donated by your parents-in-law to the wife. In 2011, you bought a Toyota RAV4, manufactured in 2011, for 358,000 lei, which is about 21,000 euros. And you used 250,000 lei donated to you from your parents-in-law. And the fourth asset, between 2006 and 2008, you and your wife acquired a apartment in Chisinau with an area of 121 square meters via an investment contract signed in 2006 for the amount of about almost 62,000 euros, a bit more than 1 million lei, and you covered that using donations from your parents-in-law to you and your wife, and they totaled 1,055,000 lei between 2006 and 2008. And in the period that is covered by the Commission's evaluation, we're speaking of the year 2008, where you allegedly received 250,000 lei. In your answers to the Commission's question regarding the sources of funds for purchasing the Toyota RAV4 in 2011, you stated, among other things, that your parents donated you 250,000 lei. You also reported a donation of 200,000 lei from your parents-in-law for the purchase of your wife's Ford Focus. And alongside these answers, you've also attached a bank statement for one of the accounts of your father-in-law, showing banking statements from the 12th of November 2011 to the 10th of October 2016. You can see it right there, is that right? Yes. Now, with regards to the purchase of the Volvo XC40 in 2022, you stated the 4 million lei donation that was made to you by your parents-in-law, and that was the source of funds for that purchase. And you declared that your wife received those funds via a bank transfer. And to your answers, you've also attached 2 documents. One was the 4,200,000 lei, the 4,200,000 lei that were deposited on the account of the father-in-law on the 2nd of December 2019, and we see a zero balance on the 3rd of December 2020. And the destination is established as external. And the second document is a copy of a bank cash collection order, which was issued by the bank to your wife, and it says that the amount collected was 4 million lei on the 30th of December, and collected by your wife. Regarding the 121 square meters apartment, you stated that your parents-in-law donated 1,055,000 lei to your wife over 2006 and 2008. You also attached the receipts for 2006, 2008, and then you also said that in 2008 you paid 250,000 lei, right? And you've also annexed payment orders for every year, including 2 that were worth 100,000 lei each for each of those payments that were made in 2008 thus. And according to the receipt, it said that in July 2008 you paid 150,000 lei. As for other pieces of evidence for the donations you declared, you did not provide. Neither you nor your wife were subjects of declaration when you received those donations, and your parents-in-law were also not declarants over that period of time, and I mean 2008 to 2022 specifically. Regarding the income of your parents-in-law, according to the information that the Commission received from the State Tax Service, over 2008 and 2022, they had a total income of 18,277,000 lei. And in addition to that, the Commission also looked at the financial turnover and the taxes paid by the parents-in-law, and that information shows that the parents-in-law, that it was possible for the parents-in-law to accrue those amounts, those funds, and they had enough funds to pay the dividends related to the 18 million amount. There is a table on the income of the parents-in-law right there, and you can see it for yourself. The Commission looked into the net income and the declaration of dividends, if that was even possible according to the financial operation, and the conclusion was that the information that was provided to us by the STS, that allowed us to believe that it was possible for those dividends to be collected. Between 2008 and 2022, to conclude, your parents-in-law donated to your family 5,266,000 lei, representing about 29% of their total income. In addition to this income, your parents-in-law also had average consumption costs that the Commission calculated, and also according to the information that you provided and the information that the Commission had access to, they too made some purchases. They've also bought assets, real estate, cars over that time span, and in total, they spent about 2 million lei for those purchases. The Commission asked you whether they made donations to other children of theirs, except for your wife, and according to the information received, they've also donated funds to another child, and those donations amount to almost 5 million lei. And after calculations, the total amount of donations to both children, plus consumption costs, and having also considered the expenses associated with the net consumption costs compared to their total income, the conclusion was that it was possible for the parents-in-law to make those donations to their children, all things considered. These were the facts, and I will be asking you some questions. First, please confirm that you had a total income, including donations. You see it right there. So the salary that you received, the interest from bank deposits, that the total amount of that was 9,510,627 lei. Yes, I confirm. Please confirm that you declared that you and your wife received a total amount of 5,542,000 lei as donations from your parents-in-law and your parents over that period. Yes, that is correct. The amount of these donations is approximately 58% of total income, right? Right, and the notions are about 1.5 times higher than your and your wife's income, correct? Correct. Please confirm that from your parents you received a donation of 276,000 over that period of time. Yes, I confirm. And the donations varied between 10,000 lei, 41,000 lei, 41,000 lei a year. Yes, that is correct, as per the information in the table that you provided. And in the written communication, you told the Commission that all of those donations you received from your parents in cash on the occasion of different events and family ceremonies. That's right, that is correct. Can you confirm that the amount, when you were asked about the funds, the donations, and can you confirm that when you were asked about the source of funds for your parents' donations to you, it was your father's salary, the salary of my father and the pension of my father? But I would also like to add that there is an orchard farmland in Crioleni, but it was not bought. That farmland was distributed to my family back in 1995, and it was then later registered. So money was not spent for that farmland, only for the Chevrolet car. Do you have any idea what was the price of the Chevrolet? It's hard for me to remember now exactly, precisely, but I think about 4,000 or 5,000 US dollars, around that. Not more, I think, because it's quite an old model, and that was imported from abroad. And the total income of your father and mother together. So according to our information, on the basis of the salary, their income was 1,649,000. Probably. Thank you. Now, according to your declarations, your parents-in-law donated an estimated total amount of 5,266,000. Yes, we've also made these calculations, and it amounted to that. And in the written communication with the Commission, you indicated that those donations were made all in cash. Is that correct? Not all of them. Only those amounts that were meant for the purchase of the cars up to 2011 and then 2014 as well, and then in cash for the family ceremonies and events. But the donation that you mentioned, the 4 million, that was transferred via a bank transfer. Now let's speak about that donation a little bit later. Now I would like us to clarify some other matters. First. So for the Toyota RAV4 and for the Ford Focus, you received 200,000 and 250,000 lei. Is that correct? Yes, all in cash, yes. So you received 450,000 lei altogether, correct, for both cars? Yes. And also the receipts are there. There's the sale and purchase contract. There's the receipts. You can see there the date, and you can see that it was paid in cash, not on the basis of invoice. There is an annex for the bank 2011-2016, something from the bank, and it shows the transactions where the account of your father-in-law was concerned. And in none of those transactions do we see the amount 200,000 or 250,000. So can you explain what is it that you wanted us to see in that annex? What is it that was of importance from your point of view? Well, that annex, and there are other annexes as well that reflect my father-in-law's accounts. There are annexes that are not right here in this, but they are there. It's just because we wanted to understand the logic of what you wanted us to get out of that information. First, I wanted to communicate the information regarding the dividends of the parents-in-law that were being paid in cash from the cash desk of the company, and they would then deposit that to a bank account. But now speaking strictly about these two cars, because for both of them, you've annexed that piece of information. There's an annex regarding those procurements. Not quite, but in your answers, well, for the Toyota, I annexed a balance of mine. There was some statement of mine with some amounts there, but for the 250,000 lei, well, I think that's what I meant. Maybe not this one specifically, but several matters. But what is it that you wanted us to see there? You wanted to show us the money, that I wanted to show the turnover of my father-in-law, and that the amounts were such that he could afford to make those donations. And there were other bank accounts as well. That was not the only one. I've annexed, I think, that in the third round. You've indeed provided plenty of information documents. I did that because I wanted to show that indeed we coordinated with the bank. It's not like the money was cashed out as soon as I would receive the salary, but we used bank cards, we used bank transfers. In none of the transactions do we see that money was paid for the car. So in none of the transactions that we see, nowhere did we see the amount of 200,000 or 250,000 lei in those transactions that you provided. And that's what we weren't able to grasp. That's why we wanted to ask you now and to maybe figure out what your answer was about. So are you saying that you were given money in cash? Yes, and that's something I've always maintained. The money was held in cash. We went to the Toyota dealership, and my father-in-law took the money in cash and gave it to us there. So you paid cash for these cars? Yes, for two cars, the money was paid in cash. Speaking about the last car, there was a transfer. No, we're speaking about the two that I mentioned. For those, the payment was in cash. Because at that moment in time, the companies, the dealerships would accept cash, and there would be a tax receipt and a contract concluded, and that would be the whole story. Now, speaking about the car in 2022, one of the sources for the procurement of that car that you mentioned was 4 million lei that you received from the parents-in-law. Is that correct? For the procurement of a real estate asset. In the written communication with the Commission, you stated that your wife received those funds via a bank transfer. And you've also annexed two documents, and you can see them right there in front of you. Have a look at the first one. It's a bank statement for a bank account of your father-in-law, which shows that 4 million was collected on the 2nd of December 2019. That is correct. Okay, let's not rush, but you have a look at it. And the other document is a copy of the collection order of the 30th of December, showing that your wife... Can you explain that? Have a look at it. Looking at what you provided to us, it does not seem to be about a transfer. It does not look like a transfer as if something went anywhere at all. Look at the statement. Your father-in-law opened an account on the 2nd of December 2019, and then on the 3rd of December 2020, the balance was 0. And the destination said external. Is that correct? Have a look at it. I agree. So what does this mean? What does it mean? It means that, well, until that moment in time, it was a deposit account. From the deposit account, you cannot transfer in the banking system funds to another account if that's a deposit account. So that's why perhaps my father-in-law opened another account where he kept that money there for a while, because if you remember, 2020 was a pandemic year. And perhaps it was a little bit more difficult. And I can't remember why he was keeping that money there like that. But before New Year, he invited my wife to the bank where they made this transfer. And on that day, my wife entered into a deposit account for that particular amount. So there was an order on the collection of cash. It says cash collection order. It doesn't say transfer. It's as if the cash was collected. So that's what the bank says. Thing is, nobody took 4 million in cash. Nobody cashed out 4 million and just went away with it. So how did this transfer happen then? The first document shows us that it's on the 3rd of December that he no longer had that amount on his account, and it was 4,200,000. Then On the 30th of December, we see an order that 4 million were collected. So of the 4,200,000, so these were transferred to a current account. And then out of those 4,200,000, only 4 million were transferred further on. Perhaps my father-in-law decided to keep the 200,000 on his account, on that account. Do you have any details? Well, if that is required, my wife could go to the bank and look into these transactions. But when they went to the bank, that's what the bank gave them, and the bank said that that was enough about those amounts. And what we're asking you is that you said that there was a bank transfer, but what you showed us only shows the cash collection. No, it's not quite that. I mean, it's about the way the banks do things and showing things, but the money was not actually cashed out and then cashed into the bank. I don't think there is a bank in Moldova that would accept just as like that 4 million in cash. I don't think a bank in Moldova would accept such a transaction just to collect 4 million in cash, and that would be it.
Bear, please, with the interpreters and slow down a bit. She's almost beyond breath, so please go slow down a bit. Thank you.
Traducerea să vorbim mai rapid.
So, Mr. Muntean, just to try to draw a conclusion. So it is your position that that was a bank transfer, and that you can provide documentation that shows that it was actually a transfer, not a cash out and cash in operation. Yes, and that this is money of your father-in-law that was transferred from his account to the account of your wife on the 30th of December. Because you understand what you showed us was one thing that showed us some amounts on the 3rd of December, and then that cash collection order of the 30th, 30 of December. And therefore, a question arises, did somebody cash out 4 million and went away with it? And no, that was a bank transfer. And I will try to look into whether I can obtain some documentation from the bank saying that that amount was actually transferred. Let's move on to the next aspect, that is the procurement of the apartment. In 2008 was when the procurement procedure ended. You explained that the last installment, paid in 2008, was in the amount of 250,000 lei, and you provided supporting documentation, the receipts from the company that reflect that indeed in 2008, in 2008, 150,000 lei was paid. 250 lei, okay, 250,000 lei. You provided us with two orders, one that says 100,000 and then another 100,000. So can you, at the end of the day, tell us what is the 150,000 that seemed to be lost somewhere?
That was a question. If we view the contract, I don't remember which item of it, but it was saying that if, in case of currency exchange fluctuation, the company, the legal entity, takes the responsibility to perform a re-evaluation, and the situation with the square footage. So initially it was 121, but then there's 1 or 2 extra square meters, they would demand that amount. So that's why they made that recalculation, and we ended up with 50,000 lei. Do you mean we paid 50,000 less? No, 50,000 more. Reconciliation, that's the company, sent a verification document, and these are the amounts that they provided. So we called them, they gave us all verification documents they had and all the receipts that we could find at that time. Maybe one wasn't found, because that was in 2008, you know. So you may have a payment order of 50,000 lei that you lost. Well, not necessarily lost. Well, we couldn't find it right now, but you paid it. Yes, we have no objection. The amounts that are mentioned by the construction company were actually paid. To conclude about the donations, so we still have to clarify how the 4 million amount was paid, which is the only amount that you said was transferred by bank transfer, and all of the other amounts were all other donations were made in cash. Yes, exactly. Given that the total amount of donations that was mentioned above
E considerabilă
is
față de-
significant.
de acord cu asta,
Do you agree with that?
Îți pare că
It seems
dumneavoastră,
that
cum să zic, depindeți mult
you depend a lot or you count a lot on the help of your parents-in-law. Is that right? At least between 2008 and 2022, the support of your parents-in-law was significant for you until 2020.
Păi 2020,
But 4 million was donated in 2020 that you are still using. Okay, I understand.
Dumneavoastră aveți o așteptare
Do you have a similar expectation for the future to keep receiving similar donations? I don't think so, because the parents-in-law are already about retirement age. They are not working as an economic operator anymore. So partially they cut down on their activity. They have only real estate that they lease out.
donații, cel puțin care
Do you think this dependence on donations that you received until now makes you vulnerable in a way or another,
mai ales vorbind despre
especially talking about you in a public position? I don't think it makes me vulnerable, because my wife has other properties as well that could be rented, and we could calculate, and the interests that you can get from the amounts donated by by parents-in-law are enough to live in Moldova without having any other less legal sources of funds. So I would not say that I depend on that or anything else. Certainly not.
Și, ok. Dumneavoastră ați vrea ceva, poate să completați?
Would you like to add anything to this topic, elaborate on it? With respect to what, exactly? About anything that I asked you about, including that potential vulnerability, given the significant amount of donations you received so far. I believe that every parent, when they can, or when they are able to make donations during their lifetime, that's an okay thing in order to build a stronger connection with the family, and for the children not to look for a less legal source of obtaining income. And that's okay. With respect to what you asked me, I will send you a description of that amount of money, that 4 million, so that it would be certainly about the money that was taken from the bank and transferred. Okay, thank you.
Are there any of the colleagues who have any follow-up questions?
Da, bună ziua, domnul Muntean.
Hello, Mr. Muntean.
Vreau să verific încă
I
o
want to
dată
check
dacă
once more.
ceva nu se leagă în
Something
sensul
does
acestor
not
4
add
milioane.
up with these
Suma
4
de
million.
contul zero
The amount
la
on the account,
la
zero,
3 decembrie,
on the
care
3rd of
încasarea
December,
la
but money in your wife's account is 30 December. Where was the money for 27 days? Like, going around the bank, or how did that happen? I'll explain it once more. This account that you have in front of you was a deposit account. The legislation or the bank does not allow to transfer money from a deposit account somewhere else. That's why a current account was opened where you could take the money from today or tomorrow or in 30 days, probably. After my father-in-law took the money out of the deposit, took some time to analyze things, because this is not an amount that you can transfer at any time. But with respect to the deposit, if you don't withdraw it at the day mentioned, then it is extended automatically, or you have to make an application and wait for 14 days before the money is transferred on the other account. So maybe he thought and analyzed all these aspects, and it was during COVID time, and I don't remember. Maybe the father-in-law or someone had some symptoms, that's why they did not go to the bank. I don't know about that. But why didn't you present this current account, or whatever you call it? Why didn't you? What we submitted, including this bank statement, to show the Commission that the money was taken from one account, and then when they entered another account, we thought it was sufficient to show these transactions. Moreover, I have never been the subject of declaration of assets and personal interests. So maybe I have some omissions in terms of accuracy of all these things. But if it is necessary, it's not a problem, because this money was in the bank and this money was transferred. About the same period, money was transferred to the second child of that family as well, also through the bank.
Any other questions from any of the colleagues? If that is not the case, I would like to give you the opportunity to make a brief closing statement. Please go ahead.
Thank you. In my personal career, I have always focused on being correct as a principle, and this was expressed in the answers I provided to the Commission. Moreover, I would like to thank the Commission, using this opportunity, for the huge effort made for the evaluation of the candidates, including myself. I think it has been a long period of time and many documents that have to be checked. Last but not least, I would like to thank my wife's family for the help they offered in collecting some documentation that could be evidence to provide to the Commission proving the source of income. And I would like to wish the Commission a lot of success in further evaluation of future candidates. Thank you.
Thank you. With that, we have come to the end of the hearing. I thank you for the answering all the questions that we had in writing and also answering the questions today at the hearing. The Commission will now withdraw for deliberations, and as much as possible, the Commission will strive at delivering a decision within a month after the date of this hearing. I hereby declare the hearing closed, and thank you again for being with us this afternoon. Thank you.